October 16th, 2025, is a day when the world heard something almost unthinkable. The President of the United States looked straight into the cameras and confirmed that the CIA is operating inside Venezuela. For historians and intelligence experts, that moment was electric and chilling, because American presidents almost never admit to ongoing covert missions. But for the Caribbean, it was something more. It was confirmation of a truth this region has lived with for generations, that the Caribbean has never really been a paradise of palm trees and peace. It has always been a spy zone, because from the days of the Cold War to the cables that now snake beneath our waters, the eyes of empires have always been here, watching, listening, recording. This is the secret history of the world's smallest region with the biggest secrets, the sea that watches back. To most of the world, the Caribbean is a postcard, but to intelligence agencies, it's a chessboard, a perfect listening post between continents, where trade, politics, and proximity to the United States turn every island into a potential asset or threat. The Americans call it their third border, the Chinese call it strategic access, and the Russians, they simply call it unfinished business. Every Caribbean sea breeze hides a frequency. Every satellite dish asks a question. Who's really in control of the Caribbean Sea? How the spies first came. To understand how the Caribbean became a spy zone, we need to go back all the way to 1947. That's when the United States created the CIA, a shadow organization born out of World War II intelligence networks. The law that birthed it, the National Security Act, gave it the power to operate anywhere deemed vital to U.S. interests. And so, they came. First to Havana, then Kingston, then the Dominican Republic, and beyond. Not with flags or armies, but with cash, cameras, and coded messages. What followed was a wave of coups, counter-coups, and covert manipulation that would forever change the Caribbean's politics. The islands that knew too much. Cuba, the center of a crisis. The CIA's first Great Caribbean War began in Cuba. They trained exiles, armed mercenaries, and launched the infamous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, a disaster that pushed Fidel Castro into the arms of Moscow. Within a year, Soviet missiles were in Cuba, and the world was minutes away from nuclear war. The Caribbean didn't just witness history, it almost ended it. Jamaica, the democracy under fire. In the 1970s, Prime Minister Michael Manley dared to declare Jamaica friends of all, satellites of none. Washington didn't like that. Suddenly, rumors of CIA agents flooded Kingston. Propaganda leaflets, financial sabotage, shadow funding of opposition groups. By the 1980 election, over 800 Jamaicans lay dead. The message was clear. In the Caribbean, independence had a price. Grenada, the invasion. In 1983, the small island of Grenada built an airstrip with Cuban help. To the CIA, that wasn't construction, it was conspiracy. Within months, US Marines invaded. A country smaller than most US towns became the site of a Cold War showdown. And when the smoke cleared, the Caribbean's fate was sealed. From that moment on, the region would always be seen not as neutral ground, but as strategic ground, the art of invisible control. By the end of the 1980s, open invasions became bad PR. So the intelligence world changed its methods. The CIA moved from overt war to covert economics. Sanctions, disinformation, debt diplomacy, and psychological operations. They no longer needed to storm beaches. They could collapse governments from hotel lobbies and computer screens. And they weren't alone. British intelligence, Canada's CSE, Israel's Mossad, Even France's DGSE all began to operate through Caribbean intermediaries. Friendly nations by day, silent watchers by night. By the time the 21st century began, the region had become one vast listening post, the digital ocean. Today, spying doesn't need soldiers, it needs servers. Under the Caribbean Sea lies a web of fiber optic cables carrying 95% of all internet data. Among them, the Maya 1 cable, stretching from the US to Mexico, Jamaica, and beyond. Intelligence agencies once sent divers to tap Soviet lines. Now they tap ours. Every phone call, every transaction, every Caribbean government email, potentially accessible through undersea intercepts. Former NSA analyst Edward Snowden once said, "The Caribbean is the easiest place in the world to listen without being heard. It's not just a metaphor. The ocean itself has become an ear." America's hidden network. The United States has quietly rebuilt its Caribbean intelligence web, not through conquest, but through contracts. Guantanamo Bay remains an active surveillance node. Puerto Rico hosts radar systems, tracking everything from submarines to satellites. The regional security system links Eastern Caribbean states into US intelligence databases. In Grenada, temporary radar installations have mysteriously reappeared. And then came October 2025. The president admitting that the CIA is in Venezuela. But here's the real story. To reach Venezuela, America must first pass through the Caribbean, meaning ships, drones, and intelligence routes are operating in waters that belong to CARICOM nations. We are no longer watching history, we're inside it. The new players arrive. America isn't alone anymore. China's digital diplomacy. Through the Belt and Road Initiative, China has quietly built port facilities, data centers, and telecom hubs across the region. Huawei provides 5G infrastructure in Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. Beijing insists it's business. Washington insists it's espionage. The truth? Both could be right. Even in Cuba, the Pajucal listening station, once Soviet, now hums with Chinese equipment. The eyes never left. They just changed ownership. Russia's return. Russian warships now revisit Havana. New defense pacts with Venezuela and Cuba mean Russian advisors are back. Some say even cyber specialists. Their presence is symbolic, but symbolism is how Cold Wars begin. The Caribbean, a sea of secrets. From the outside, it's all calm. Tourists sip cocktails under the same skies where satellites glide quietly overhead. But beneath the calm lies the hum of cables, the flicker of radar screens, and the silent relay of data from island to island. This is the spy zone the world forgot, where every conversation might travel through the same undersea wire that carries a CIA transmission. It's not paranoia, it's geography. When the President of the United States says the CIA is in Venezuela, he's not revealing a new story. He's admitting the old one never ended. For 70 years, the Caribbean has been the front line in a war without gunfire, fought in shadows, under flags that promise friendship but act in silence. The tools have changed. Spies in disguise are now algorithms, satellites, and artificial intelligence. But the game remains the same. Control the flow of information, and you control the future. The Caribbean never stopped being important. It just stopped being obvious. So, the next time you hear about secret operations, satellite launches, or mysterious data cables running through our waters, remember this: the Caribbean was never just a destination. It's an observation. This is Impacting Jamaica. If you believe our small region deserves a big voice, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching, because the next secret is already being written.